This video is on ratios and in particular the unitary method. So the unitary method is where we take a quantity and we share it in a given ratio. That's essentially what you're being asked to do. So if you look at this example here, it says divide $35 in the ratio 2 to 5. So you need to work out two quantities. So when it says divided in the ratio 2 to 5, you're going to end up with one quantity representing 2 parts of this ratio and another quantity representing 5 parts of this ratio. So we're going to be sharing or dividing a quantity in a given ratio. So the easiest way to do a question like this is to look at a ratio as 2 parts. So if you had $35 and you wanted to share it, and it was shared between, say, two siblings in the ratio of their ages, and one was 2 years old and one was 5 years old, then you've really got 7 parts to split up between these two people. So you want to split this entire quantity of $35 7 ways. So what we can say is the 7 parts that make up the ratio should equal $35. My writing gets better and better. Yep, so we've got the 7 parts equals $35, and from there we can work out what we call 1 unit. That's why it's called the unitary method. We're going to be working out 1 part. So if 7 parts equals $35, to get to 1 part, I would just divide by 7, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So we will get that 1 part, well, 35 divided by 7 is $5. 1 part equals $5. So one of these siblings gets 2 parts and one gets 5 parts. So I have to now work out what those quantities are. So 2 parts will equal 2 lots of this quantity here. So really we're just multiplying. Now we're going to double that quantity to get 2 parts, and 2 parts will be $10. And then I can work out what 5 parts is. So 5 parts will just be 5 lots of this quantity of $5 here. So 5 lots of that will be $25. So if I want to divide $35 in the ratio 2 to 5, then we will get, the answer would be that we've got $10 is one of my quantities, and the other quantity would be $25. And the way we can check that my answer is correct is if I reduce that ratio, so this is just a little check on the side. If I take the quantities of $10 to $25, I can actually reduce the ratio using the method we learned in the previous video on how to reduce ratios by dividing by the highest common factor, and 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So it does show me that I have in fact divided this $35, these two quantities, and now in the ratio 2 to 5. All right, let's try it again. This time around we're going to look at a question with three different parts to our ratio. Okay, but the method is exactly the same, but I just wanted you to see that you may not always have 2 parts, you might have 3 parts. The angles in a triangle A, B, and C are in the ratio 5 to 6 to 7. Find the size of each angle. Now, when they tell you the angles in a triangle and they list them, that means that angle A is worth 5 parts, angle B is 6 parts, and angle C is 4 parts. So the order actually does matter. The tricky part about this question is they've not given you the quantity you need to divide. And hopefully your knowledge of maths is pretty good, bringing back some knowledge from year 7. And you should know that the angles in a triangle, well, they add up to a total of 180 degrees. So really you're going to split this ratio of 5 to 6 to 4. You're going to split 180 degrees in that ratio. So once again, we're going to look at how many parts we have. So if we add the 5, the 6, and the 4, that gives me 15. So it turns out we've got 15 parts. And so I need to take the 180 degrees and split it into 15 parts. So 15 parts is equal to the 180 degrees. From there, we'll use our unitary method to find 1 unit by dividing by 15. We'll divide by 15 here as well. And if you have trouble with this arithmetic, that's where you can always use your calculator. If you've got good arithmetic skills, you can do it in your head. But that gives us 12. So 1 part is equal to 12 degrees. And now I've got to work out what angle A, angle B, and angle C is. Well, angle A is worth 5 parts. So I now want 5 lots of 12, which is 60 degrees. and angle B is 6 parts. So then I'll want 6 lots of 12, which is 72 degrees. And then angle C is only 4 parts. So I'm going to want the 4 parts of 12, which is 48 degrees. So just to make sure, sometimes you'll see me write things like ATQ means answer the question. So don't forget to actually answer what the question asks. I'd be writing down angle A, angle B, and angle C, and making it clear that I know that angle A is 60 degrees, angle B is 72 degrees, and angle C is 48 degrees. All right, last question on the unitary method. The ratio of adults to children in a sports club is 5:2. So once again, we've got another ratio, and this time I've been told that we've got the ratio of adults to children. So the order matters. If adults is mentioned first, then adults is the 5 parts and children is the 2 parts. So here we can see clearly there are more adults, more than double the number of adults compared to the children in the club. That's why ratios are useful. They allow you to compare quantities. Now this question is different to the other 2 questions we looked at. In the other 2 questions, we worked out what this entire ratio was equal to because we were given a number representing the whole ratio. So in that case, in this example, if we gave you the entire number of members of the club, that would be equal to 7 parts. But you weren't given the number of members in the club. You were told the number of adults. So the number of adults, I'm going to place that on the adult side. And then it asks you for the number of children. So this is a nice little summary of this question. We want the number of children, but we know the number of adults. Well, this time round, instead of linking the whole ratio, I'm just going to link up the 2 parts that I know. So what I do know is that 5 parts equals 120 adults, or 120 people. So if 5 parts equals 120 people, I can now find 1 part. Now I'm going from a bigger number to a smaller number, so in this case I'm not going to multiply, I'm going to divide by 5. Any number divided by itself will give me 1, and then I'll do the same on the other side, and 120 divided by 5 just gives me 24 people. So now I know 1 part is 24, but the children are 2 parts. So from 1 part, I can work out 2 parts by doubling. So that would give me 48 children. So like I said in the last slide, don't forget to answer the question. How many children are in the sports club? I would just write, therefore, 48 children. Another question might be, how many people are in the sports club? In which case you would take your 48 and add it to the 120 to get 168 people. So we're now in the territory of word problems, which are always a little bit trickier. So you've really got to read carefully, highlight keywords, and just make sure you're interpreting the question correctly.